What's up, YouTube? So today we get Jody. I don't know, y'all probably all heard about her. They've been all on the internet. Miss Ruby Frankie's, and then the husband. You know, I had to do a story on this because this is just odd because, about a year ago, everybody was, really following them and wanting advice about their kids and getting counseling. And a year later, now they public enemy number one. So I don't know. You guys like and subscribe. Talk to me. Let's unpack this and see what it look like.
I have heard this term called mommy guilt quite a bit. Have you heard that, or maybe you use that term? Every time I hear that term, I think, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's Jody Hildebrandt, the Utah woman accused of child abuse alongside YouTuber and mom of 6, Ruby Franke. Hildebrandt says she's a counselor, but who is she really?
I'm Jody Hildebrandt. So glad you're with us.
We investigate and tell you about the startling twist in the case involving Ruby Franke. Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Anjanette Levy. Jody Hildebrandt was taken into custody in Ivins, Utah last week after police said Ruby Franke's son climbed out of a window at her home with duct tape on his ankles and wrists. Police said the boy was malnourished and taken to the hospital. Hildebrandt and Franke face 6 counts of child abuse each. Neighbors and viewers of Franke's YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, say they've been concerned for years about how she treats her children. And get this, on Thursday, the Daily Mail is reporting that during a hearing over custody of Ruby Franke's minor children, she claimed that one of them molested their siblings and other neighborhood children over several years. The reporter said that Franke sobbed during the interview. We know Franke is a mom of 6. We've seen her past videos, but who is Jody Hildebrandt? We did some digging to find out. Hildebrandt founded Connections Classroom in 2007. Prior to Connections, she worked as a counselor at a drug and alcohol treatment center. Her LinkedIn page calls her a therapist and educator. Hildebrandt received a Master's of Science in Educational Psychology from the University of Utah in 2003. Her bio on her connectionsclassroom.com page says, "My style is compassionate yet direct and clear of what is necessary to fully change and champion any addictive or self-destructive behavior, whether it be ravenous addictions, feelings of worthlessness or inadequacy, conflicts in relationships, intimacy problems, communication breakdowns, and frankly, any block that prevents having and creating peace and joy." Here's a clip from Connections' Instagram account from last November. It's Jody Hildebrandt talking about how parents can help their children when they act out.
So many of us that are parents, it's like, I don't want to have to track them down. I don't want to have to just, take everything away from them. And it's like, you're not taking things away from them. What you're doing is you've handed them things that they're not managing. And so it's your job to make sure that the first thing they manage is themselves. Like, they understand how to manage themselves. They know how to be responsible for themselves. They know how to not blame. They know how to get curious, which means humble. They know how to ask questions. They know how to say, that doesn't feel right. Can you help me understand? They know how to do all that. And when you give them activities or you give them opportunities that they engage in where they can't manage themselves, they're only going to become more and more unmanageable inside of these activities.
Hildebrandt also talked last year about what sex should be like between 2 people who are married.
If we're going to be sexual, that we do it inside the institution, the constructs of a marriage. And not just a marriage, I go and I get married, but a marriage between a man and a woman who love God, which means they individually love God. So there's no lust in your marriage. It's, I love me, I love God, and so therefore I truly love you, which means I will never take from you. I will never use you to make me feel better.
Jody Hildebrandt claims to have counseled thousands of people over the years. She says she's counseled families of all ages with her unique style of educating about the power of choice and the need for impeccable honesty. A 6-week individual leadership training goes for $795 on her website. Company training costs nearly $15,000. Hildebrandt and Franke appeared to be business partners. The Contact Us page on the Connections website lists Ruby Franke as the contact. Photos on the website show the two together. Ruby Franke is listed as a certified mental fitness trainer at Connections. She produces content for social media that focuses on empowering parents and children to live their truth. According to the affidavit filed in support of the child abuse charges, 2 of Franke's children had been at Hildebrandt's home last week. A 12-year-old boy climbed out of the window, asking a neighbor for food and water. Duct tape was on his wrists and ankles, and he had deep lacerations from being restrained. Then police said Ruby Franke's 10-year-old daughter was found in the home as well, malnourished. Police say a YouTube video showed Franke in the home 2 days prior, and that she was aware of what was happening to her children. Franke and Hildebrandt are Mormons, and they talk about God in many of their videos and what they say he wants. This week, Jessie Hildebrandt, Jody's niece, spoke on YouTube about her aunt.
Jody and my parents had a conversation. Jody told them to leave me with them, or me to leave me with her, and for them to just go, and to not say anything, and to just pack up the things and just go. And so a few hours later, I get a knock on the door. I was asleep, and it was Jody and my grandparents telling me that my family had left and I wasn't going with them, and that my life was about to change pretty dramatically. But everything was revolved around my worth. So anything that gave me a sense of worth, I was not allowed to have anymore. I had really long hair that I loved. Had to cut it all off because it gave me a sense of worth. Going to school gave me a sense of worth. Not allowed to do it.
With me to discuss Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke is someone who's covering the case out there in Utah. She is Amanda Gilbert. She's a reporter with KUTV out in Salt Lake City, and she is actually on her way to Ivins, Utah. Amanda, welcome to Sidebar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Amanda, what can you tell us about Jody Hildebrandt? We kind of did a deep dive on her before we brought you in, but what do you know about her? This is somebody who professes to be a psychologist, a counselor of sorts, somebody who can help families and children.
That's right, and she's kind of being described as Ruby Franke's business partner. What we're most interested in at the moment is that most of Franke's kids, when they were found, or at least some of them, were found actually in Hildebrandt's house in Ivins, Utah, where we're headed. So the 911 call, a lot of the reports that are making national attention about where Franke's son was first found, all actually take place in Ivins, which is about 4 hours from where Ruby Franke's house in Springville, Utah is. So we're trying to get a better picture of, why were these kids in Hildebrandt's house? The 911 call and scanner traffic audio reveals some of what was inside Hildebrandt's house when they went inside. That will probably be a big part of the investigation. So that's the big part of what we're focused on right now.
So Ruby Franke lives closer to Salt Lake City, Utah. Her business partner with In Connections, Jody Hildebrandt, lives, you're saying, 4 hours away. I know you're on your way there right now. It's going to take you some time to get there. But they said they had a YouTube video. The police in their affidavit said they have a YouTube video that shows that Ruby Franke was in Jody Hildebrandt's home 2 days before the children were discovered. There was not only the boy, the 12-year-old, who climbed out of the window, there was also a 10-year-old girl in the house who was malnourished. So they have evidence that she saw her children, apparently saw what was going on. We're assuming she condoned it.
Yeah, in fact, scanner traffic audio reveals that when they went inside Hildebrandt's house, law enforcement describes finding some type of panic room inside, underneath, or in some proximity to the garage that the Ruby Franke's son talks about in kind of directed law enforcement to. So there was definitely things happening inside that house that we would assume they were aware of, having a space like that.
Were you aware of connections and 8 passengers before the news of these arrests broke last week?
I was not. I think, no, we were not. We were alerted to it last week as a station as a whole. A lot continues to be revealed kind of throughout the week, but as far as our station, it's new to us.
What has the general reaction been to this out there? I mean, these are 2 women who talk about God. They are 2 Mormon women. We know that there's a large Mormon population in Utah, of course. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Because they are really out there. They've been all over YouTube, all over Instagram, all over social media, talking about things like what sex is supposed to be like in a marriage, how children, you should be handling things with your children. They are out there. And so I would think, at least on our channel, there's been a lot of interest from people. Has there been a lot of interest from your viewers?
Absolutely. I think a lot of questions with this case that we're hearing about from viewers arise around the topic of social media. These women were essentially sharing their lives all over the internet and social media. How much of a role did that play? How much of a role did, in a way, the bystander effect's been brought up a lot of, were people seeing things, how many people were reporting, how concerning were things they were saying. There's a lot of conversation about that. I'm hoping to talk to some neighbors today. We have another crew headed to Springville where Ruby Franke's house is. We're hoping to talk to neighbors to get a fuller picture of what they have to say, how much they went to police, how concerned they were. I know one neighbor in Ivans said that he felt like, quote, one of these women was bad, but he didn't realize how bad. So I think there's just a lot of conversation of, like, was there a way, what kind of prevention could have happened? Were people speaking up? How much? I think a lot of that is still being revealed and under investigation.
We know that they are going to make a first court appearance. What do you expect from that today? And you'll be attending that.
Yes, it is via WebEx, so we are thinking it's virtual. Something interesting that we've reported on this week is an initial judge believed that Ruby Franke was too dangerous to be released back into the public. Now that's been kind of assessed more. We have a whole report on that. So today we can expect to see what will be decided on whether or not bond will be set, whether or not they'll be allowed to release on bail. So we'll kind of learn more about what's actually decided today about whether or not she's allowed to be released. So,
is there anything else you can tell us about Jody Hildebrandt? And do people know of this woman? I mean, it seems on her website she's projecting that she's got this massive business. I mean, she's saying she's lectured to thousands of people. She's been counseling people. She's had Connections Classroom, her business, since 2007. That's a really long time to be in business. She's selling DVDs, holding seminars, holding trainings. So are you hearing from people who have actually, been in one of her trainings? She offers to train professionals, police, people in the workplace, things like that.
Yeah, and if you go to their websites, like, they have client testimonials on the website. You scroll down. So I think a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork talking about things that they saw that were concerning, but still in shock over, seeing what more and more information we're learning about. So I'm actually hoping to talk to more people about that today too. So as we go down there and get a fuller picture.
So you haven't heard from people reaching out to your newsroom saying, well, I did a training with Jody Hildebrandt. She helped me, or I interacted with her, or anything like that?
We haven't heard from any of those clients yet. We are reaching out to them. So we're hoping to talk to them.
How big of a part do you feel in your coverage of this case religion plays in this case. It's unfortunate. We've seen in the Vallow Daybell case, obviously they were fundamentalist or some type of extremist sect of Mormonism. I feel like Mormons are kind of taking some heat right now. I mean, it's kind of unfair, but these women are people who are making these pronouncements in the name of God. Is there any talk about that out there?
I think it's too early to comment on that, and how that plays a role in their parenting, because they, in a way, claim to be experts on parenting, and give advice on that. I think it would be too early to comment on how that plays a role in that.
Okay. Well, Amanda Gilbert, we really appreciate your time. We hope you have a safe trip to Ivins, and we hope to talk to you some more another time about what you find, and if you reach out or reach any of those neighbors and they're willing to speak with you about anything they've observed or witnessed over the years.
All right. Thank you so much.
So, that was a lot, man. So I had to go in depth and let you guys kind of hear it so we can kind of have that conversation, man. Like and subscribe. You know what I say. Talk to me and I'll talk back. You know what y'all think. You know what I mean? I'm confused. I'm just fucking confused because I don't like people fucking with kids, man. And it fucks with me because they use religion. But I don't want to come too quick a judgment. Let's just unpack this a little bit and let's see what we got. Let's see what we got.
Welcome, everybody, to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. Two women known for their YouTube channels on parenting and religion appeared in a Utah courtroom for the very first time on Friday. They're both charged with felony child abuse. Ruby Franke lives in Utah with her husband and 6 children. Their YouTube channel, called 8 Passengers, had more than 2 million subscribers before it was taken down earlier this year. According to a probable cause affidavit, Franke and her business partner, Jody Hildebrand, were both arrested last week. Franke's 12-year-old son had climbed out of a window at Hildebrand's house and gone to a neighbor. He was emaciated with open wounds and had duct tape on his wrists and ankles. Franke's 10-year-old daughter was found in very similar conditions inside the home. Both children were taken to the hospital, while the other 4 children were placed in the care of Utah's Division of Child and Family Services. Both Franke and Hildebrand are facing 6 counts of felony child abuse. There have been reports over the years that Franke might be abusing her children based on what viewers saw in her videos, but it seems nothing came of these reports until now. Franke often collaborated with Hildebrand on parenting and child care videos. YouTube confirmed that it shut down 2 channels associated with Franke during Friday's hearing. We learned that Franke and Hildebrand will both be held without bail for now. A bail hearing is scheduled for a few weeks from now. So let's talk about it with my co-hosts, my legal analyst, Terry Austin, Brian Buckmeyer. Good to see you both. Terry, I'm going to start with you. State has a lot of video evidence in this case. How do you think that's going to play a factor?
Well, I think what the defendants are going to claim is, look, you have good video, you have bad video. You see, as we just saw, the children happy and they are playing and they are healthy. So I think the videos can cut both ways. I think they're also going to say no one was harmed. Now, clearly, we know that the young boy did have cuts and bruises, but for the most part, I think that they're going to try to say that there wasn't any serious bodily harm. They've been charged with, as we know, this abuse, and it's a felony under Utah law, and it's a serious felony. It's a second-degree felony. So I think that they're going to try to say, look, there wasn't that serious bodily harm. We didn't abuse them. We thought that under our faith, this is what we're supposed to do. I don't think these defenses are going to hold up, but I think that's what they're going to say.
The way that I read it, she's charged, 6 charges, and with respect to, just to give you one, the young boy, it could either be torture, it could be starvation, it could be emotional or developmental harm. So it's kind of broad about what child abuse could mean here with respect to the injuries. Walk me through the bail, the bond issue there. Any chance she could get out before trial?
I think it's more of a question as to what their finances are. I think this is, again, horrible case, but it's not a homicide case. We're typically used to those murder cases where they're remanded, no amount of bond or bail will get them out. I think that there will be some amount of bond or bail. I think the strongest argument the defense would have is she can't see her children. She's accused of abusing her children. She'll never be able to repeat this charge again. The court can issue restraining orders where she cannot speak to or reach out to her children. Of course, they're out of her custody. I would imagine a very high amount of bail or bond. The question is whether or not they'll be able to make it. I think there are some arguments there for the defense, but for the prosecution, the arguments to keep her in are very strong. The idea of the level of the crime and the strength of the case, I think this is an easily provable case based on what you just said, the broadness of what abuse is in this case. If it's not the injuries that we heard in the 911 call or what we're going to likely hear from the medical reports, it's just the emotional effect that it's going to have on these children. I'm thinking we're going to hear from social workers who interview these children afterwards and hear, wow, these are not healthy, normal children as we expect them to be in the state of Utah. This is something that has happened to these children over a long period of time, and they're really emotionally damaged.
And she can't say she didn't know what was happening, because my understanding is she filmed a YouTube video in that house like 2 days prior when the children were there.
Oh, that's right. She knew what was going on. They collaborated and did the same thing to the children.
That's the allegation. We're going to talk more about it, because still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, there is lots more to talk about in this case. And we got our hands on the 911 phone call that a neighbor made when one of Franke's emaciated children showed up on his doorstep. Stay with us.
Let's listen to the 911 call. Let's get to the center of it.
And welcome back to Law and Crime Daily, everybody. Our coverage of the YouTube mom charged with child abuse continues now as we hear the 911 phone call that first alerted police to the most recent allegations against her. Correspondent Sierra Gillespie has all the details.
This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
We're taking a closer look at the case of Ruby Franke, the YouTuber mom now accused of child abuse. For the first time, we're hearing the chilling 911 call and emergency radio communications after Franke's son escaped from her business partner's home and was found emaciated with open wounds.
He asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid.
That 911 call came in just before 11 a.m. on August 30th. A neighbor in Ivins, Utah, a remote area about 4 hours south of Salt Lake City, reported a 12-year-old boy showed up at his house asking for help.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
The caller then references problems at the neighbor's home before explaining the boy arrived looking emaciated with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Officials later determined the boy's mother is Ruby Franke, the YouTuber behind the 8 Passengers channel. Once boasting more than 2 million subscribers, the channel is now defunct after being terminated.
My gosh, you guys, having kids is so much fun.
On her YouTube channel, Franke documented the lives of her 6 children and husband, Kevin, recording videos about everything from home renovations to back-to-school shopping. But Franke's strict mothering tactics came under fire long before her arrest.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
In the past, Franke had addressed critics, saying she wouldn't stop mothering her way.
Online who hate me, who would like to cancel me, who would like to see me either burn in hell, as I have told, or disappear off the face of the earth, and I'm not going anywhere.
First responders also mentioned Jody Hildebrand, whose home Franke's son escaped from. Franke and Hildebrand have a past relationship, collaborating on parenting videos. Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Let's talk about that 911 phone call, Brian. I have to imagine if there's a trial that's coming in there, how bad is that for the defense?
Oh, Jesse, it's not.
I don't know. Because the suspicious part to me is, so Dad, you don't know nothing. You've been around this all this time and you don't know nothing. And then you even get an interview Let me see if we can find that, though. We're going to unpack that real quick, man. Y'all follow me, man. And here we have it, y'all. Let's check out what Mr. I Don't Know Nothing talking about.
Ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
Ruby Franke's husband is speaking out after the influencer was charged with 6 felony counts of child abuse. Kevin Franke, via his lawyer Randy Kester, alleges on Good Morning America that he and his wife, who was arrested August 30th alongside business partner Jody Hildebrandt, have been living apart for 13 months.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations that he's ever physically abused those kids or anyone else.
During the September 6th interview, Randy adds that Kevin's priority is the 6 children he shares with Ruby.
He just wants to do what's best for his kids, get them back, get them under his tutelage and his fathership, and protect them.
According to his lawyer, Kevin is, quote, distraught over how the allegations are affecting his family. E! News has attempted to reach legal representation for both Ruby and Jody for comment, but has been unable to find contact information, and previous attempts to reach the two directly have been unsuccessful. Per legal documents obtained by E! News, Ruby, 41, and Jody, 54, have each been charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse by the Washington County Attorney in Utah. Each count carries a prison sentence of up to 15 years and a fine of up to $10,000. According to a probable cause affidavit obtained by NBC News, the women were arrested after Ruby's 12-year-old son climbed out of a window of Jody's home. An August 31st press release shared by the Santa Clara Ivins Public Safety Department states that the boy was emaciated with open wounds and duct tape on his wrists and ankles. The release also noted he went to a neighbor's home for help, quote, asking for food and water. According to the affidavit, Ruby's 10-year-old daughter was then found by law enforcement at Jody's home in a similarly malnourished condition, with officials saying the children were taken to a local hospital for treatment. Per the affidavit, in addition to the 12 and 10-year-old, Ruby's other 2 minor children still living at home were taken into the care of Utah's Division of Child and Family Services. In the days following her arrest, Ruby's sisters, Ellie, Bonnie, and Julie, shared a joint statement on their respective Instagrams, saying, "For the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything to try and make sure the kids were safe." They added, "Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe, which is the #1 priority."
Oh, and then the sisters just threw her under the bus. So I don't know, y'all. Like and subscribe. Talk to me and I'll talk back. Y'all tell me y'all thoughts, man. Tell me what y'all think, man. At the end of the day, man, the kids is, the only ones that's going to suffer through this. Our kids love their mom. So I do hope if all's sake, she gets some fucking help. And just they need some help if they need some help, man. I don't know. I'm gonna go through the more videos and really before I just say my judgment on this and cast my feelings upon this and how I feel. I'm gonna say that usually I just go out, but this, it's kids, man. That's a soft spot for me. Kids is, that's our future. So let's just see how this unpack this in time. Let's see how this case and due process work out. We'll talk about this one all the way through though. All right, you guys stay blessed, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.